Welcome, everybody, back to the U.S. Soccer Podcast. David Goss and Megan Klingenberg with you. We have an incredible episode. This week is National Play Soccer Day in the United States. Get out and play soccer, but I don't even have to say get out on the field. Because, Kling, we've got an awesome episode lined up for everyone. We are going to talk about all the different ways that you can play soccer and all the different ways that USSF has teams that are representing them. As we talk to Stuart Sharp, the head of the extended national teams, and Morgan Church, the women's beach soccer national team head coach. And, Kling, we're really excited to have these conversations.
We're so excited that, this is an extended episode for the extended national teams. That's how excited we are.
It is a long one because there is so much good stuff in it. Stuart walks us through all of the teams, including the one that he coaches, and then we get to talk to Morgan about beach soccer. We're talking sand, feet, bike kicks, and everything else in between. All of that coming up for you right now. Well, we just had National Play Soccer Day here in the United States, and we've got an interview now coming up that we are very excited about. We have Stuart Sharp, the head of the USSF's extended national teams, as well as a coach of one of the teams. Stuart, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and what a great opportunity and what a great week to speak about the work that we're doing at US Soccer and in this department.
We have a lot to talk about. So let's start generic, though, and say quite simply, what is it that you do? Tell us about your job.
Well, put that in a nutshell. Well, yeah, I'm the head of the Extended National Teams Department. I have a keen focus within the department on the technical side. So what does that mean? Well, we have 9 teams within the Extended National Teams Department, which I'm sure we'll go into a little bit later. But my job is to support the coaches and the players to reach their full potential. Now, that's a bit of a cliche. What does that mean? Well, with the extended national teams, we're about winning. All right. We are about creating opportunities, but we're about winning. So my role is to create a framework and support network for our coaches and our players so that when they step on the international stage, we have the best opportunity for the US to win at the highest level.
Love that. And how did you get into this line of work, and how did you end up with US Soccer?
That's a great question. I don't know if the podcast, I don't know how long we've got, but I'll simplify it. You've probably picked up, I don't have a deep South accent. I have been in Atlanta for about 13 years, but I'm originally from Glasgow, Scotland. And that was really where my career started in this area. I worked with the Scottish Football Association for 8 years, building similar frameworks within their federation. I landed on these shores. I took a slight sabbatical from the game, and I did conflict resolution and sports development across the world. So working in Haiti and Russia and Jordan, doing that. And then US Soccer came knocking on my door in 2014. I was lucky enough to have met a board member at London 2012 and outlined what I had done in the past. And he had asked me some questions about the federation. And in 2014, they came and approached me for the inaugural role of head coach with the CP men's national team. And then from there, I spent 5 years in that role and eventually built out along with my colleague Jim Moorhouse, built out this department, which is the Extended National Teams Department.
At one point in there, you said conflict resolution. I thought we were talking like human resources, like someone's messing with the water cooler, and then you named, I think, Haiti and Russia. So you meant like conflicts.
Conflict resolution, yeah. We met the first 80,000 refugees coming across the border from Syria, and we were using sport as a vehicle for change and integration into society. So that was in Jordan and in Haiti. It was just after the earthquake, and we were using sport as a vehicle for health support mechanisms. And Russia, well, there was some integration there as well.
That is an unbelievable resume to come to with this. I think we'll have many more questions as we go along in all of this. But now you mentioned you took over as originally the head coach of the CP men's national team, which we'll talk about more in just a moment, and then now the head of the ENT. So give people an idea of what this whole field looks like? How many teams are under sort of your umbrella, and what are they?
Yeah, so I suppose I'll start at the beginning, right? Because one of the things when people see ENT, I've been hitting the pause button on them and saying, listen, let's use the word extended all the time. So it's extended national teams or extended NT. Why that's important is that the word extended, right? That when we first grew this department, there was a CP men's team, there was a beach team, and there was a futsal men's team as well. And they were listed under others on the US Soccer's website. They were floating around in literally just a program over here.
Yeah.
So when we developed this department and have grown it, the word extended is very important. It's not extended out there from the federation, but it's actually as an extension of opportunities to interact with the game in different ways. So if you think about the traditional 11-a-side game, it's a way of coaches, referees, sponsors, spectators, all to experience a game in its different forms. So what does that mean, right? We have 5 disciplines, men and women going across them all. We have the futsal men and women's national team. Futsal women's team had their inaugural year this year competing. We have the beach men and women's national teams, very exciting teams. We have the deaf men and women's national teams, CP, men and women's national teams. And again, yeah, I'm coach of the men's team. And then we have the power chair soccer national team, or as we like to call it, the power national team. And that's made up of, that's a co-ed team with male and females both on it. So that's why we have 9 national teams. And again, it's about high level performance. These athletes want to be treated like national team players, and certainly that's our approach with our staffing and resources to ensure that when they arrive in camp, we provide them the best possible resources that we can to perform at the highest level.
I love this. In my opinion, more soccer is just good for the game. More opportunities is good for everybody. But I really wanted to get your opinion on why do the ENTs matter? Like, what makes it so important that we have extended national teams and it's not just listed under other?
What a great question. I suppose if we fundamentally think about the role of sport and the role of soccer in society, it's about providing opportunity, right? Providing opportunity, whether it be as a coach, a referee, a fan, or a player, to find the joy that I think everyone on this call has found through sport and teammates. So why does it matter? Well, the 11-a-side game isn't for everyone. We're all shapes. We're all at different shapes. We're different sizes. We have different skill sets. So we have an opportunity in our department to create relevant role models, will it be on the grass, the court, or the sand, for people to see, well, there's a national team player that I aspire to be like, or who I would love to get to know. And from that pathway, just as like we have on our men and the women's senior national teams, from that aspirational look, and we have a way of hopefully getting more people involved in the game. There's more to the sport, as we all know in this call, than just the 11-side version. So if we can get kids, adults kicking the ball in multiple areas across this country, that we will truly become the preeminent sport in this nation, and that's the vision that we have. So it's a vehicle. I used that before, a vehicle for change, but this is at US Soccer. It's a vehicle for individuals to interact with the game in different ways.
We, are doing this to the week of National Play Soccer, and so it feels very fitting of all these different ways that people can get connected. And we're going to dig into your team in a little bit, so you get to put your coach hat on and take off the overall technical hat. And we're going to dig into all the other teams coming over the next few weeks, including the beach national team, women's national team in this show. But what does this do to the landscape of U.S. soccer to have all of these other teams? And how can people generically access more soccer by getting connected to these programs?
Yeah, I suppose I'll start that we are world leaders in this area. U.S. soccer has 27 national teams. It's more national teams than any other federation. So I think, first of all, we need to shout that from the rooftops and be proud of that. I'm going to take a step back and then answer that question, because there is an overall picture here that we talk about: the FIFA Club World Cup, the Men's World Cup, the Women's World Cup coming up, the Olympic Games, and then hopefully hosting the Women's World Cup in the future. And I've heard it be described as like a wave of soccer coming across our nation. We need to provide different ways to interact with the game, right? And some people live on the coast, and it's very difficult to find a turf field, a grass field to play. Why not use the sand, right? We see this across the world. It's where it's played on the sand, whether it be in Spain or Rio de Janeiro, that it's a place to play the sport. Likewise with futsal, right? We can play in our schoolyards, we can play in our gyms. It's another way of playing the sport. And then finally, when we look at our disability national teams, many of these players have either been born with a disability or acquired a disability in their life, that maybe they thought that their career was over as a high level player, and having 9 teams in a different format allows that if someone has an interest and the ability, that we have a way for them to become top level performers, represent the crest, and hopefully inspire others to get involved along the way and find their level in the sport.
Let's talk about your team. Let's start with the CP men's national team. That's your squad. What is the group like? What is sort of the calendar look like over the year? And how did you originally get involved on this side of the game?
Yeah, so the CP men's national team, and we have a women's team as well, is made up of players who have either been born with cerebral palsy, one stage in their life had a stroke or a traumatic brain injury. To give you real life examples, I was just interacting with a former wounded warrior there who served our nation overseas. Was in a military accident, is now on our team, representing the team in a different way. We've had individuals who've played D1 college who were born with cerebral palsy and really didn't let their impairment get in the way of their sports performance. And likewise, we've got players on our team who've had a stroke at one point in their life. Maybe their hand grip is a little bit weaker than it was. Maybe they walk with a very small, slight limp, and they've found a way of continuing in the sport. So that's the makeup of the team. The team competes in World Cups every 2 years. It's in a 2-year cycle, like many of our extended national teams. This year is the Copa America. So we'll be going to the Copa America in Uruguay in October, and that will be a qualifying tournament for the World Cup the following year. So yeah, this team is focused on winning. We're 5th in the world at the moment. Dropped one place. We're 4th last year. So we want to climb back up that table, and eventually our aim is to bring back gold at a major competition.
Obviously, these athletes have incredible stories of resilience and grit. And I was just wondering, I'm like, whose jersey do I need to buy? Who is the left back that I am going to get behind for the entire cycle through this next World Cup? And I think Gas has a midfield.
I just want a destroyer.
Yeah, she wants a destroyer.
Center back, center mid, doesn't matter.
Who do we need to know? Give us the tea on that.
It's a very difficult question to answer, because I hate highlighting individual players. I will share, just because I mentioned it before, our captain, Josh Bry. He was in the 75th Ranger Regiment and has several Purple Hearts, and actually has a silver medal for his heroics on the battlefield. And I encourage anyone to look him up. He's the captain of the CP team. And Josh basically brings, when he was in Ranger Regiment, he talks about it as if it was like playing for Barcelona or Real Madrid and getting on their squad. And he talks about it's one thing getting into Real Madrid or Barcelona, it's another thing staying on it. And that's the way he describes it, what it's like to be a Ranger. He has brought that mentality to the CP men's team. And one of our core cultural pillars, we talked about pillars before, is that we like to talk about ourselves and pride ourselves on the fact we're the team that never stops. So no matter the scoreline, until that whistle blows and the game is ended, we won't stop. And that's something that him as a team captain has instilled, that accountability throughout the squad and the players. So we've got that. We actually have an interesting opportunity as well. We're going to Colombia next week, and we have a trialist coming in. So of course I won't mention his name, but just interestingly enough, that he unfortunately got injured in a car crash the night before he was flying to Germany. He legitimately had trials with a Bundesliga team. He was in a horrific car crash, and just about 3 weeks ago, we tracked him down. And sounds crazy, but through social media searches, we tracked him down, approached the family. He'd never heard about this team, and next week he'll be flying to Colombia with the opportunity to interact with the game in a different way than he ever imagined. But this is his second opportunity or new opportunity to represent the crest. So it's gone from, like many of our players, a major moment in their life, whether they were born with a disability or they were impacted in another way later in life, to an opportunity to represent this nation on another level. So coaching this team is humbling and exciting at the same time. I don't approach it in any way, and none of our coaches do, that we're working with individuals with disabilities. We're working with national team athletes, and because that's what they bring to the table. And so, yeah, they've all got interesting pasts, but it's about what they're doing currently and in their future we focus on and provide them, hopefully, with the tools to realize that potential.
It sounds like they have truly inspiring stories and have overcome a lot of adversity, but obviously we want to focus on the here and now, because that's the moment. That's what they're doing, and that's what's important, is right now in the present. Something that you mentioned that was really interesting to me is that you found this player online. Did you slide into his DMs, and is that like the typical way of finding players for this team?
This is crazy, and unapologetically, I will say yes. You know, we that's what we have to do. Podcasts like this, any news articles we put out there, are a way of recruiting new talent across our extended national teams. We actually found this player by doing Google searches, and he popped up. His Instagram popped up, and we researched it. We then sent him a DM, tracked down. He wasn't replying. Tracked down a news report, found the reporter, and then got in touch with the family. And then I spent probably 20 minutes on the phone with the family, trying to explain to them that this was not a prank call and we weren't scamming, that I was part of the US Soccer Federation. I was asking them to Google me. This was great, right? It gives me credibility.
I bet the accent helped.
Yeah, I was like, listen, Google me, right? This is not a scam. This is real. And but yeah, this is very common, from whether it be we've had stories over the years that like Drew Bremer. I'll use an example. He's now actually full time with us as an analyst at US Soccer. Fantastic professional, but he played in the CP men's team. He found out about the men's team by clicking on a link to get tickets for the women's national team game in 2015. He was looking to get tickets for the women's national team game, and he was on the website and saw the word cerebral palsy. He was born with cerebral palsy. At the age of 18, he's like, what is this? Clicked on it, and then, flash forward 12 months later, he's in Rio de Janeiro at the Paralympic Games. But he went online to buy tickets for the women's national team. So, unfortunately, we're still in this awareness raising area for all our sports, or all our disciplines, I should say, not sports disciplines. But podcasts like this, and as we grow this, the visibility that the National Training Centre will bring, I hope that we see more and new talent coming to coming to the sport, whether it be CP men's team or our beach men's team or futsal women's team, that there's opportunities to continue your career, expand your career, or find a way of interacting with the game that US Soccer is providing that truly no other federation in the world is providing.
So let's talk about if someone is listening, or what happens after you click on the link when you're looking to go see Megan Klingenberg fly down the left wing for the U.S. Women's National Team and win a She Believes Cup or whatever was going on in 2015. What happens then? Like, what is the landscape of the cerebral palsy game in the U.S., and then how can people prepare themselves or just get involved to play for fun, or move towards a national team?
Yeah, and I think there was something like the World Cup was happening that year for the women.
I don't know, overrated.
I don't know, there was something like that. There was some major event in Canada.
Barely heard of it.
It's standing on the shoulders of our heroes. We use that to recruit players. But yeah, so what happens, I will say, first of all, you can reach out, whether you be a potential beach national team player, a futsal national team player, deaf national team player, power soccer player, CP player. You can reach out to us on an email address that is extendednt@ussoccer.org. And if you email that address outlining which team that you're interested in hearing more about, we'll get back to you with a survey that will point you in the right direction if you want to be a national team player. Or, for instance, you might be interested in refereeing, or sponsorship or coaching. Again, we can point people in the right direction if they get in contact with us there, because we're about and I know we were talking there about the CP men's team, but I will say, and we touched on it earlier, that more soccer the better. US Soccer just signed a deal with TST. That was a different form of the game that some former players never thought that they would get the opportunity to do. Well, maybe there's some, NWSL players, former, current, same MLS, USL players that want to try their hand or their feet at on the sands, right? And maybe represent the national team at a FIFA World Cup in a different form of the sport. And
from a local point of view, like, let's talk about your expertise, the CP. Mm-hmm. What does the landscape look like of how people can play week in and week out and how they can sharpen their skills?
Yeah, so at US Soccer, so we have the Extended National Teams Department. We also have the Participation and Environments Department. And what they do, they work with our members to ensure that there's opportunities across the nation. Remember, we talked about that tsunami. It's not perfect, right? We've not got the coverage yet, but we'll get there. That our P&E department do a great job with our members for people at a local level to play. So, for instance, for CP, we have a member called CP Soccer US. And if you're a kid or a parent out there, or someone who's had a stroke, TBI, or born with cerebral palsy, if you type in CP Soccer US, you'll find their website, and they have clubs across the nation. They have competitions. They have summer camps, and that's a great way of finding your first steps into the game. And then maybe one day, because you've seen that inspiration. I used the example of Drew Bremer or Josh Brunei. You see that inspirational figure and think, one day I don't want to buy that shirt. I want to wear that shirt, and that would be your route into the national team by going to an organization like CP Soccer US. But futsal has members. We have members on the power soccer side as well as deaf soccer. So I encourage everyone to get in contact with our Participation and Environments Department. And again, we have those links on the website when it comes to grassroots opportunities.
For someone who's never seen a game with USCP, what would surprise them?
First of all, you can find the games on YouTube. US Soccer has a lot of links out there, so you can look at the game on US Soccer's YouTube channel, and you can catch all the action from previous events. I will also whisper, and please, maybe you shouldn't put this out, but I'll give you an inside scoop that we might be bidding for the World Cup. So there's another.
You heard it here.
Yeah, another World Cup. I didn't say it too loudly in 26 after the the practice round with in June and July, the CP World Cup. We hope to host at our National Training Centre later that year, so you can see it live next year. But if you log on, you have a look at some action, what you're going to see? Well, you're going to see 7v7. There's no offside, so there's lots of action, lots of goals. Other kind of rule differences, it's 30 minutes and a half, so the intensity is really high. Actually, when you look at the GPS readouts, if you look at distance covered by one of our CP players in 60 minutes, it's akin to MLS Next 19 U19 player in terms of distance covered and number of sprints because of the game with no offside. And you'll also see an interesting part of the game. We talk about borrowing things from different modalities of the game. The throw-in can happen in two ways. You can either throw it in overhead, or you can roll it in like a bowling ball, and that makes the action goes very, very quickly. So yeah, you'll see a 7-side game, lots of action, and lots of goals, and you'll see every single player showing grit, determination, and pride, and playing for their nation, like we see at every level across US soccer.
Honestly, I think, sorry, Gus, but I really think that the rolling throw-in would have been a huge benefit across all leagues. I feel like it's just such an opportunity to keep the ball that way. And in my mind, it ensures that there's not as many turnovers, which makes the game a lot more fluid, which I feel like is a watcher's paradise.
It is. It's almost, honestly, I say this all the time, it's almost archaic that we're still throwing the ball in.
Yeah.
Because the way that the sport has changed now, right? That people are jumping up for headers. Of course, kick-ins would never work, but this is a way, and the ball's got to touch the ground within a meter, so it's very quickly thrown in, and the action's away again. Of course, you can do it overhead, but it gives you this secondary option to play the sport.
We've got a lot of other teams to ask you about, but last one for you is, you mentioned Copa America coming up. You mentioned the drop from 4th to 5th in the world. We're excited to watch the game at all times, but one of the things that gives us a little bit extra is rivalries. Is there a clear rival that we should know about? And is there one other nation that we should be watching out for?
Yeah, who do we need to hate?
I didn't say it.
Well, Argentina.
Okay. Yeah. Already got it.
We've got a real rivalry with Argentina. We tend to meet them in the medal rounds a lot, and it can go either way in terms of results. We've knocked them out World Cups, and they've done vice versa to us. So I'm sure at one stage in that tournament we're going to meet Argentina, and then possibly on to Brazil after that. We've beaten both of these nations in the past. And so we're going to go down there to Uruguay with the intention of winning gold, and it's certainly within our grasp. And I'll tell you, it really is interesting. We talk at US Soccer about style of play a lot. We talk about player profiles, and I'm sure you've had guests on talk about the US way and how we like to have this golden thread run through all 27 national teams. But no matter the discipline, truly, whether it be beach soccer, futsal, CP, power soccer, or deaf soccer, when you think about a nation and their style of play, it's what you see no matter the discipline. So if you think about what the women's Argentina team would be like at 11s or men's at 11s, it's the same style of play. It's obviously different players, but the style of play is the same in deaf soccer. It's the same style and approach to the game, let's call it approach to the game, as in CP soccer. So yeah, if you tune into that's in October. It'll be an exciting period for CP to set us up for what's ahead with the World Cup, maybe 12 months later.
Love it. I'm ready to put Argentina on top of the bonfire and Brazil in the middle.
Man, Kling, you do not take prisoners. It is not happy-go-lucky.
As a U.S. soccer employee, I did not stand by those remarks.
Yeah, no. Kling's out on her own. She's allowed to say whatever it is she wants. We're so excited to keep watching and checking out the CP national team. We are also really excited because we have a bunch of interviews lined up for each of the specific extended national teams that you've talked about to learn more about them, including we are going to be talking in this episode with Morgan Church, head coach of the women's beach national team. But besides beach, which we'll leave aside there, we just want to ask you some quick questions about some of these for more people to get involved. You talked about searching on a lot of these. For the futsal national team, just tell us a little bit about sort of what the landscape is right now and how people should engage with this team or what they should be looking forward to. Because I know the women's team had a historic moment recently.
Or even what is futsal for some?
Cling. That's a better question.
I mean, what is futsal for the people that don't know? Because I think even people that are huge fans of 11s still might not know what's the difference between futsal and 11s, including like the different equipment, the different field surface. So I'll let you tackle that first, if you don't mind, Stuart.
Yeah. So I suppose that this goes back to, I'm going to be very general at the start, and then I'll talk about futsal. We have a challenge, right, across the nation about growing the sport of soccer. We still meet people and we're still explaining what soccer is. So can you imagine the challenge with the extended national teams department of then explaining what these other disciplines are and raising awareness? So it is a challenge, but for futsal, what it is, it's an indoor version of the game. It's played on the court. As we like to say in extended national teams, we play on the grass, the court, and the sand. So this is a court version. For our teams, it's a FIFA tournament that they play in every 4 years. There's a World Cup, and qualification is through CONCACAF, our regional qualification modality. And our women's team started this year. It's 5v5 indoor, 25-minute halves, high energy, high skill level. Your first touch better be good, and your ability to get out of trouble with a step over or a quick release pass better be there, because these players have such a high level of skill and fitness. And I was lucky to be at the qualification competition with our women's futsal national team this year. Unfortunately, we just fell short of going to the very first FIFA World Cup, but we're just starting. But these women, these ladies, performed their hearts out, and it's such a bright future for the sport. We have players on our women's team and men's team that come from such a variety of backgrounds. We've got non-traditional route players that they've maybe played in Hispanic leagues, Latino leagues, and then found their way into futsal. We have players who are on NWSL rosters, back end of rosters, and then played futsal growing up and come onto the team. And then we have out and out purists who've just been playing in gyms across the nation. It's the only sport. They don't know what 11-a-side is. They don't care what it is. They only play futsal. How dare you bring up 11-a-side to them? So we've got players across our futsal community and beyond who come into our national teams, and my goodness, what a skillful players that we have there. And then NTC, our National Training Center in Atlanta, will have a bespoke facility just for them to come in and hone their skills, and seating there we talked about fans and growing the game, and spectators, fans to come in and watch them train and play against opponents. So that's futsal. And maybe I'll just, I know you touched on it. I know Morgan, who can speak better than me about beach soccer, but we have the sand version of the game, 5v5, short duration periods as well, and lots of throwing bikes, lots of overheads.
Every bike kick you've ever seen.
Tackles are like Greek wrestling at times. That's where a tackle is. I know you like your tackles, Morgan.
I have a lot of questions about defense from Morgan, I have to say.
Yeah, I'll let her get into it, but I'll tell you one of the most interesting things, and I was speaking to our analytics manager today about getting information to our coaches and players. They have a live DJ playing the entire time. So
I have complete FOMO.
Yeah, it is unbelievable. We were at the World Cup in Russia. They actually had a DJ versus a band interacting during the game, while our players are trying to hear instructions from the coach to win the FIFA World Cup. So it was 35,000 in the stadium. So unbelievable atmospheres on both futsal and beach, and a way of interacting with the game like no other. Maybe I was going to say, most people say strap the boots on to come, Megan, but maybe take the boots off, and maybe this might be another way of wearing the crest.
And bring a koozie, keep your sparkling water cold like I got over here. But I love just the iterations of the game and how many different ways that it can be played. I always like to tell people I love soccer in part so much because all you need is a body and a ball. And I truly think that it's a sport made for everybody. And it's really cool what we're doing with ENT through US Soccer and giving accessibility and visibility to people who truly deserve an opportunity to play a sport that brings joy to so many people and not just the people playing it. So tell us more about the deaf soccer team and how that works and what can we expect from our deaf U.S. national teams?
Yeah, so to make the deaf men and women's national team, you have to have a hearing loss in your good ear of 55 decibels or less. So that's the impairment that these players will have, and many of our players play at a high level, and have some hearing loss at the same time. Amy Griffin, a former gold medalist with our women's national team, is the coach of the deaf women's team, and they'll alongside the men's team will be going to the Deaf Olympics in November this year in Japan. To play against the top nations in the world. Our deaf women are number one in the world, and we've got a new head coach in place with our deaf men's team, who we believe can climb the deaf men's team up the rankings as well. So yeah, they have Deaf Olympics this year, and their women are aiming for gold, and the men are certainly trying to get there as well.
One more question from me. Now, we've been talking about the CP national team, the deaf national team, and we haven't talked about power yet. I'd love for you to get into that. But I also have a question about what if your disability in these three areas doesn't necessarily line up with the hearing loss that you need to have or the traumatic brain injury? Are there other opportunities for people? How do those people find opportunities to play? Is it with US Soccer? Is it another way? Can you speak to that as well?
Yeah, I can see you reading there just to remember all the teams. My goodness, you can see the challenge that we have.
Yeah.
I'm jealous of my colleagues in the YNT that only deal with FIFA and CONCACAF. I've got all these different governing bodies. I think we counted them 13 different governing bodies and 5 different versions of the game. But to answer your question, I'm going to point back to the name of the department first of all, and then dive a little bit deeper, because our department is keenly focused on national teams. And as we all know, I was there as well as a young boy in Glasgow that dreamed of playing for the nation. And we don't all get there, right? We don't all get there. It's a very elite group. It's a small community that gets to wear the crest and represent the nation. And again, I spoke to it about inspiring. So hopefully they do inspire. And if you are inspired but then aren't at the level to play the national team, and this goes into your question, what can you do? Well, there's 2 parts to this. One, I point back to our members across US Soccer, whether it be futsal or beach or deaf or CP soccer, that there are levels. You can find your level to play the sport within club programs if you reach out to our membership. But I would also encourage, and I think, David, it was either you or Megan, you mentioned that the beautiful thing about the game is that you can always find a way to interact with it. It doesn't always need to be in a formal club setting or national team setting or organized setting. The beauty of the game is that find some friends or find a wall and a ball and go and enjoy the sport and the release of endorphins that it provides you by just exercising, or again, meeting others who are like-minded. That we have players who don't make our national teams. It happens. of course, right? They come in for tryouts. I mentioned that we're taking someone to Colombia very soon. That if that on a tryout, if he doesn't make the national team, there's opportunities to find ways of interacting. Let's say in the local city social leagues, intramurals, indoor sports. So and again, playing with your friends at the local park. So I would say that if you're looking to play the sport and you don't know where to start, go on US Soccer's website, click on the participation and environment section, and there's a map there. And we're not perfect. We don't have all the answers yet, but interact with that map, see where the opportunities are to you close by. And if there's nothing there, Google it, do your research, and I'm sure that you'll find something at the level for you.
We've taken a lot of your time, and you probably have a 10th team to start so that you can manage that as well coming up soon. And I now want to go out and play because I haven't played in a week or so, and you've re-inspired me to get back on the ball and try and show off. But one more team to ask you about before we let you out of here, and we cannot wait to dig into all of this. Obviously, as we said, the beach team, but we're going to dig into all of these teams and learn about the competitions they have and the players that are a part of it and the coaching staffs and everything else as well. But the power soccer team, we have not spoken about yet. Explain to people what this game is and how this national team works.
Yeah, we love the fact that we call it the power soccer national team. So it's made up of players who have got disabilities that or impairments that mean that to interact with the sport, they use a power chair. Right, power chair, and at the front of this power chair is designed for soccer. It has a frame at the front that they use to hit the ball and move the ball. Someone once said to me, again, I'm from Scotland, but there was a game back in the day. There was a board game. It was like ice hockey that you would hit it, and the stick would swish and hit this across the board. Well, if you think about power soccer, they have a frame at the front of their chair. They move their chair around and hit a larger ball across the court. So it's 4v4. The goals are slightly bigger and shorter duration match. But yeah, these are highly skilled players. We had a great opportunity that we put our president, Cindy Parlacone, and our CEO, JT Batson, in a power chair. And they got the fright of their life, first of all, how fast it goes. It's ridiculous, the speed on these things, and also how difficult they are to manage and maneuver. So highly skilled athletes, larger ball, and they manipulate their power chair to score the goals. And we have a player on the team. He is a set play specialist, and like anything else, you do your research. You should interview him. His name's the mailman. They call him the mailman because he always delivers. I
love this.
All right. So we have some great players across our teams. And the power soccer team, again, go on US Soccer's website, look it up, Google it. You'll see footage out there. And but truly, I would say this across the board, across all our 9 teams. And this is where the beauty of our National Training Centre comes in Atlanta that opens in April. Seeing it live is when you really appreciate it. We know that we appreciate pro soccer when we see it live compared to when you watch it on TV. It's no different from our national team athletes. Come and watch us play. Look it up online, but come and watch us play when this training centre opens and support the teams and get an understanding of how talented our extended national team athletes are, whether it be on the grass, the court, or the sand.
Fingers crossed we'll have a couple World Cups to talk about as well coming our way into the U.S. across all of these extended national teams and be able to put on some displays as well at the highest level here. And, of course, we've got Olympics coming up as well. We could not thank you enough, Stuart, for taking the time. Good luck down in South America with the CP men's team. And we're going to continue to dig into all these teams and talk about all the great work that you and your team are doing. So we appreciate the time.
Thank you, and I really appreciate this opportunity, and I know other coaches do, and getting the word out about our programs. And I urge everyone, just as you're sitting on your phone listening to this podcast, just Google US Soccer Extended National Teams, learn a little bit more, have a think if you or someone that you know might be able to represent the crest in the future by looking up that website. You could change someone's life and give them the opportunity to represent that crest. So thanks again for this, and I'm excited to hear our other coaches speak about the different disciplines in our department.
Well, really grateful to Stuart for the time that he was able to give us. We dug in on a lot of the teams in the extended national teams, but not all of them, because we were very excited for this interview coming up. We are going to dig into beach soccer. We are going to talk sand and feet and everything else going on with the expert, Morgan Church, the head beach women's soccer national team coach. Morgan, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me.
So we have a lot of questions, and we're very excited. Let's start simple, basic.
Okay.
What are the unique rules or elements of beach soccer that might surprise people? What is the essence of this game?
The game is, honestly similar if you think of futsal in terms of 4 field players, 1 goalkeeper. Slight differences would be that there's a time restraint when you're in possession. So if you think about kind of 4 quadrants or the penalty area, the goalkeeper has or your team has 4 seconds to be able to extend the ball past that penalty area, or else it ends up being a free kick. And free kicks in this game don't have walls like grass would. So free kick ends up being almost like a penalty anywhere on the sand, kind of where that infraction happened, where you set up a cone that is aligned with the corner flag. So few differences, but some that drastically change the game with kind of the time restraint as well as free kicks.
I am just like loving my introduction to all of these ENT teams because of course I've watched and of course I've seen what's going on in the ENT programs and things like that, but it's not as out there as our 11-a-sides senior teams and youth teams. But the thing that fascinates me about beach soccer is the sand. I am obsessed with the sand. I mean, it's got sand, it's got bicycle kicks, it's got insane touches. It looks so fun and it looks exhausting. Can you talk about like what kind of fitness does it take? How do you train for this? Because this doesn't compute for my 11-a-side brain.
You are the best salesperson. We need you out there for this. But other than the end part, but no, you're right. It does take a certain type of fitness. I think maybe one of the biggest misconceptions is thinking our periods are 12 minutes. We play 3 12-minute periods and thinking that most players are on for that full 12 minutes. It's not. Again, it's similar to futsal where the subs are kind of on the fly. So you might play 2-minute shifts, maybe 2.5-minute shifts. So with fitness, it's more of how long can you go before you're not effective anymore for us. And the way that we play is we do a lot of interchange. And so asking players to literally work as hard as they can for as long as they can and get off before you get tired so we can keep the level and the style of play similar as we sub players on and off. But it's difficult, but honestly, once you start training for it, it's not as hard as it seems. It actually ends up being more fun than you'd think because you get to throw those bikes and you get to do some aerial type things that maybe you wouldn't try in grass because of just the different surface.
It sounds a lot like hockey with the shift change. Is that a good comparison?
Yeah, honestly, when we look at kind of just different sports, whether it's futsal, that discipline, or even hockey, we kind of look at some of those, even how they're taking stats and whether if a group is on and goal is scored for or goal scored against. There's some research that way in the past that was good data to gather, and then now that maybe they're saying it's not as good of data. But there's definitely some similarities between hockey and beach soccer in terms of the subbing.
For a lot of sports, soccer in every style in the U.S., there's always like hotbeds across the landscape. Are we talking SoCal and that's kind of it? Is there, because there are beaches everywhere. Also, anything that's sand is a beach. So like how widespread is where you can play and people getting connected to the game?
Yeah, it's a great question. Currently, most of our players are NorCal, SoCal, Virginia Beach. There's a huge kind of beach soccer network there with men's and women's players. We have some players down in kind of the Miami area, so the Florida area. And we actually, one of our players currently lives in Iceland. So It's not where she started. Obviously, she kind of grew up in California, and probably the most unique to our roster of people think about that. And they're like, how in the heck does she even train? But going off the last part of your question of really of how do players train in this, it's being creative. So if they don't live near a beach, it's finding beach volleyball courts, any type of sand pits. So our player from Iceland used to train in a long jump pit against a wall, because it's all that she had in the moment of where she was living, and just trying to find a way to be creative, to be fit and ready coming into camps and competitions.
Now, when I've seen beach, there's not really like passing on the sand involved. Like, it's just a little bit too uneven, and people stepping around, it just feels like you're not able to do it. So I see people always passing it in the air, which ends up meaning there are bicycle kicks. There are these insane goals that you see. And I think people are stuck on that. But what I'm stuck on is the defending, because I come at it from an outside back sort of situation. And I'm like, okay, what is going on there? Like, I don't even understand how you're supposed to go about defending. Like, what is going on there? How do you defend? It looks sometimes like you're just sticking your face and being the most brave person in the world in front of a foot that is 6 feet in the air. Can you dive into that a little bit more?
Yeah. So if you were, by the way, as a defender, you would be perfect because you're fearless. So you don't have to put your face in front of the ball. But what you do in terms of the rules, so they do protect players that are about to throw a bite. So the only thing really that they say is that as long as the touch or the pass, if I'm the attacker, is straight up in the air, then I have the space basically to be able to throw a bike. So as a defender, you can't come basically into that plane or into the body of the attacker. You can only jump straight up. So usually, I mean, you don't want to get hit in the face, so they jump and turn, and kind of block with their back or block with sometimes the back of their head. The other way, which I don't know if you've seen yet, and you probably are used to seeing a little bit more in foot volley, of the shark attack, or the shark where they jump up and with the bottom of their foot block it.
Yeah.
So that does happen as well. So which to me would be the most protected way, but obviously you've got to be a bit more athletic to be able to get up as high as players are biking it. But it's a few different ways to defend.
I love that. I would need to stretch a lot more.
Kling's eyes went so wide open of like, oh my God.
I know. I mean, I thought defending was intense for 11s, and my mind is totally blown right now thinking about how you would have to totally relearn the entire game, thinking about how you would defend and position your body and what parts you would use to block the ball. So I'm like getting into the tactics here. Sorry, we can zoom back out, part. But I get really excited about hearing all new parts of the game because I've studied 11s a lot, and now learning these new types of ways to play is really exciting for my soccer brain.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about your experience. How did you get into beach soccer? How did you end up in this space where you're now the head coach?
Yeah, it's actually a funny story. I grew up, and I feel like it was when computers were invented, but not really. But it was like there wasn't really much on the U.S. Soccer website, and I remember hearing maybe beach soccer was on TV when I was a kid, and I'm like, okay, ussoccer.com. Do they have a women's team? I just fell in love with watching the game, and I used to love throwing bikes in my backyard, and was like, hey, I feel like this could be something that I would enjoy. And I remember emailing U.S. Soccer saying like, hey, let me know when there's a women's team. Let me know when I was probably like 12 or 13, right?
That's amazing.
Like, who is this girl? And delete. But come fast
Stuart
forward,
would never, though. Not Stuart.
No, Stuart would have been like, okay, let's start a youth team.
Yeah.
So fast forward a ton of years, I did a course that we were onboarding some coaches with U.S. Soccer, and started talking about beach, and kind of told him that story. And so he was like, well, would you want to be a player coach? This is kind of like how we're trying to build this team, and trying to have, at the time we had a coach that was really running the men's team, but also overseeing the women's team. And so that's kind of how the conversation just got started. And at the time I had already somewhat decided I'm going to make the transition into coaching. And so I said, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. So ended up going in with the men's team into the 2021 Russia World Cup and working with them, and then taking the women's team in an Intercontinental Cup event in Russia at the same time. And that's kind of how it all got started in 2021.
Talk about shooting your shot when you're 12. That's incredible. That's like
right?
a full circle moment. But I also was, a little birdie told me that not only did you coach for the men's team in the Beach World Cup, but you were actually the first ever woman to coach in a World Cup, whether it's beach or 11s on the men's side. And that is so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just wonder, while you're shattering that glass ceiling, were you thinking about it in the moment, or were you so focused on the job that you could only appreciate it after?
Honestly, I didn't even know. I mean, at the time, I think Fatima with FIFA was there, and Stuart's in the stands, I think, talking with her, and all of a sudden shows me her tweet. And I'm like, oh, I had no idea, but she thought it was such an amazing kind of accomplishment and moment that I think putting it all together. But I am so competitive that also in that moment, I'm like, look, I want the men to win and I want to focus on the women's team. So it was just like, okay, stay focused on the job at hand. But really cool to now see that there are more women involved. And I think the women's game and women's coaches are being way more respected than, years ago. So I think that comes with the amount of teams that are coming, online and teams that we see joining different events. But yeah, very, very cool experience for sure.
But we have a problem, which is, so you have coached at a men's beach World Cup. You coach now as the head coach of the women's team, but you cannot coach at a World Cup because there isn't one. So how do we fix this, and what are we working on, and what does the international landscape look like of, if there's no World Cup, what are you sort of working towards? What are you playing in?
Yeah, it's a great question. The women here that have been pioneers in the sport, and I tell them every time we have camp, I think of them a little bit like the 99ers. If some of these women have been around for so long and have been the voices and the fuel for this sport and this team for so long, that I think they've inspired, similar to maybe even just our women's pay kind of movement that happened. They've inspired other countries to start their national teams or fund their national teams. And we heard initially that it was more due to the numbers of teams, which now that's definitely increased. It is probably somewhere in and around where futsal had started. So it's definitely, if they were going to make the decision around the same number, that's possible. And I think we have buy-in from Beach Soccer Worldwide, which is kind of the organizing, kind of governing body right now of any of our beach soccer events. So I think it's just, what we've heard is a matter of time before FIFA finds a way to fit it into the calendar, fit it into the schedule, and kind of all the initiatives that they have moving. But these women are ready. And I think that's the one thing, is I want to make sure, and I hope that the women that have had a chance to kind of start this movement and put footprints into this game, especially in this country, have a chance to be on that first roster and represent this country at a World Cup stage, because we've done it on multiple levels, different events, but never quite a World Cup. So hopefully that, or the Olympics. I think World Cup is obviously, and this thing is a little bit different than the Olympics, but both would be a very honorable thing to have done for your country.
Someone has to come first. Why not?
That's right.
Why not this group? Where's the petition?
Right.
How do I sign it? But we're here to help, and we're here to spread the word. And one thing that we heard from Stuart when he was talking to us, he was talking about talent transfer and the talent ID process. I was wondering if you could dig into that a little bit and help us understand what that means.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think one of the biggest challenges that we have with any of our extended national teams is the beach team. It's funny because I work with most of our other teams as well in my current role. And I come across all these grass players, and they then hear about extended national team. Then most of their response was like, oh yeah, I could play futsal. I want to play futsal, because they all think they'll take their grass game and immediately they're brilliant at small-sided, quick, all of that. grew up playing it, and then they hear the beach, similar to Kling, and they're like, that sounds hard. It's hot. I don't like sand anywhere and anything else. So yeah, maybe not. But I think one of the biggest things is knowing the amount of benefit and joy that you can get from playing beach, which is unlike anything else. I think the community itself is the best thing I can attribute to a little bit is, which I'm not part of this community, but almost what I feel like the CrossFit community would feel like. They're just super tight knit. And I think once players get a chance to experience what it feels like, an actual game of jumping in the sand, knowing that you're not having to play 12 minutes straight, you do get a chance to get off, get some rest, and then scoring goals. It's like the most imperfect, perfect game ever, because you could have the worst shot. It hits the sand in the best possible way, ends up going in, and you're the hero. So I think the coolest thing is knowing that anybody could be really good at this. It just takes players taking risks and taking chances. And down to a little bit of your question of like the player profile, players don't have to have played beach soccer to want to play beach soccer at this point. And there's obviously right now we don't have a league yet. Hopefully that will come at some point. But we have current players in the NWSL. We have players that have played in the NWSL. We have players that have played high-level Division I soccer, and then we have players that haven't played high Division I level soccer, but yet are very good for the beach team. So I think the biggest message is you don't have to be the best of the best to be really good, and it gives everybody an opportunity to, one, represent their country, but two, be really good, almost like a second chance at a sport they loved. At a really competitive level. We talk about being the best in the world, and I have no doubt with the talent that we have and talent we could discover, we could be there for sure. So yeah, we're looking for players. We have try to have talent ID events and sessions as much as possible. I have Super League players reaching out, former national team players reaching out. That's why I was excited to be on the call with you, Kling. I'm like, okay, well, maybe this is our moment.
Oh my gosh.
But no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I think knowing that if someone still has the itch and they thrive in challenge, this sport is for them. Because the second they get out there and they're like, oh, I'm good at this, but I could be great at this, and I'm used to being really good at something, they end up coming back. And they come back again, and they go and train, and then all of a sudden, they're player of the year for us. And that's kind of how sometimes these stories happen. So yeah, I think the sky's the limit for this group.
You mentioned the people the women who have been around the team who have helped push things forward and been sort of the face of building this. Can we get some names of like who are star players, who should people know, backgrounds and stories around all of this? And, you know, we said to Stuart as well on the cerebral palsy team, like the jerseys that me and Kling need to go out and buy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a handful. I mean, honestly, it's difficult to narrow down, but lately we've had, and she's been Play of the Year, I believe, the last 2 years, Hannah Adler, who played overseas. She played a little bit for Louisville. She was relentless in emailing me wanting to try beach out and had never tried beach out. And eventually the opportunity was open and available and came in, and she's been killing it for 2.5 years. So Hannah's been doing well. Allie Hall, who's recovering, almost back. She might be able to make this next roster. We have a camp at the end of August from an ACL injury, but she has been our captain the last 3-4 years. And Sam Martinez is a popular name that also played in NWSL. She was very good in TST last year. She just gave birth to a new baby maybe 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I think the age group and kind of roster for this group is pretty vast, but some amazing women and players.
Truly. And honestly, this gets me so excited about it. And I'm like, oh, maybe I can do beach. And then I remember that I just went to the beach with my friends, and I literally walked across the sand for about 10 feet and was exhausted. So I think I'm going to just be the person in the stands having my koozie and supporting and yelling from the rooftops that, hey, this sport is awesome and let's get a World Cup in the United States. But Yeah, I don't think it's for me, Morgan.
No, you're good. You're good. I was gonna tell you, I know that a lot of people ask, can they wear like the sand socks? Or some players think they can just tape their feet.
Yeah.
I will tell you one of the professional rules, other than maybe if you're playing kind of recreational grassroots beach soccer, you can't wear sand socks,
Wow.
or actually you have to have a certain amount of like skin showing on your feet so that you're not just taping them up to not be in the sand. But we do water the sand so that it's not like burning your feet off.
What
Does
does
this
foot
actually-
care look like?
That's
and
what
like
I was gonna-
skin care on this.
You just beat me to it, guys.
Yeah, honestly, I can't answer that completely because I haven't played. However, I do know that as an athletic trainer, what I have heard is they have to basically like learn the sport on how they properly tape toes. Because typically in grass, you're like, okay, I can tape an ankle,
Yeah.
I can tape certain things, but there's certain ways that you want to tape because you obviously want as much movement and mobility as possible. So I think it takes a little bit of experience with the athletic trainers, but honestly, I think the other biggest misconception is people think they get injured a lot more, and it's actually the opposite. What I have found is because the sand is a bit more forgiving. I mean, we do have some toe injuries and things like that, but it in the last 3-4 years, it hasn't been as much as you typically would think because of it being that type of like, I mean, the sand is pretty deep, so it's not the, it's not, I'm selling it for you right now.
Yeah.
But the sand isn't compact, so it does give with joints and ankles and things like that.
So
Well-
we're saying beach 1, 11-0 when it comes to foot care, because I've seen some of my teammates' feet, and we can't
Look.
actually talk about that on this podcast. That's how
I
bad
don't
it
look
was.
at the toenails if that's what you're asking.
We are excited to be part of the Sand Squad, whether we are just as fans and supporters, and that's our name. Me and Kling will be Team Jorts in the crowd, screaming the whole time and getting ready. Morgan, we're excited, hopefully to help push for a World Cup and eventually cheer for all of you. Where can people follow the team next? What's the next thing coming up so people that are excited about this can sort of tune in and follow along?
Yeah, our next event right now is Acapulco Cup, which will be in December. I think it's December 14th, somewhere in around there. And usually our games are streamed on ESPN. So at this point, I think once we do have an event, we should be kind of pushing that out on our social media channels, and then would be able to stream it from there.
Amazing. We're going to get the watch party going. We hopefully will have you back again in the future to preview
I would love to. I'd
World
love
Cups
to.
or talk about championships and trophies and all of that type of stuff. But thank you for taking the time this time, and thanks for joining us.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Well, as you could hear, we were pretty excited about this episode. We had a lot of questions, so much so that we actually had to move a bunch of it into our Insiders episode. So don't forget to subscribe as a U.S. Soccer Insider. It gets you access to our additional behind-the-scenes content, our extra questions, and all of that for the podcast, and much more. Kling, in that, Morgan mentioned after we were finished of like, oh, one of the nice bonuses is they play tournaments in Bali and in Dubai and in Costa Rica and everywhere else. So now I think you're almost the most intrigued you've been of trying to play.
Honestly, I think that I need to take back what I said earlier on this pod, and I might send an email to the ENT address, because I'm trying to hang out at Bali, have some coffee, then go play soccer on the beach. Like,
Yeah.
sign me up, guys.
It is really cool to hear, you know, how different the game can be. Because I think for a lot of people, it's not just, oh, like, where do I fit? It's if you live in a cold place, futsal might be the right spot. If you live in a
Right.
hot place that doesn't have fields, like beach soccer might be the spot. If you've been through other, you know, experiences in your life, the cerebral palsy team might be the spot, or the power team. And so it is really cool to see all of the different programs going on around the USSF. And clearly, as we have learned over the course of this episode, and we're going to talk about all of these teams more going forward, but awareness is the biggest thing. So Google them, look them up, talk to people about this, watch games, but talk about it even more. Whether you're going to join or just be a fan, whether you think you know people who might want to join, talk about all of this so that everyone can find the game in their own way and we can just be fans of all of it from the sideline, which we are looking forward to. So thank you once again to Stuart and Morgan for taking the time to join us. Thank you to you, Kling. Thank you to Brad as well for the work on the back end. And we'll talk to you all again very, very soon here at the U.S. Soccer Podcast.